Hotel history is created for adult audiences. Content may not be suitable for all listeners. Discretion is advised. You're listening to Hotel History. We take you with us through the sordid history and scandals of some of the world's most famous and infamous hotels. I'm Dieta.
And I'm Yael. Let's get started. So this episode is this in honor of July 4th?
It was gonna be, but here we are. It's July 7th and we're recording.
It's okay. Well, we're still celebrating the country's independence. We shouldn't forget about it just because it has a birthday, once a year.
So we picked a Boston hotel because obviously Boston had quite a bit to do with the American Revolution, although this hotel has not been around quite that long.
No, but it's one of the older ones. I find that hotels in the Northeast,
oh yeah,
the original colonies.
We do actually have a Substack article about some of the hotels that were around during the Revolutionary War and how they contributed to the nation's founding. If anybody wants to check that out at tcheckin.substack.com. The Omni Parker House is located in downtown Boston on the Freedom Trail, which if you've never been to Boston in the historic areas, there's just this little actual trail on the sidewalks that is a walking tour that you can hit a ton of the historical sites there. So the Omni Parker House is located on the Freedom Trail across the street from King's Chapel, which has been in existence since before the Revolutionary War, and Boston's Old City Hall. It's around the corner from the Old South Meeting House where the Boston Tea Party was planned, and is just down the street from the Old State House. So very historic part of Boston. It opened on October 8th, 1855, is currently Boston's oldest inn, and is considered the longest continuously running hotel in America.
Is that true? Was there another place that claims that?
There have been other places to claim that. This one seems to be technically true. It's not because the building has been a hotel since 1855. Other places claim to be that, but the building maybe is that old, but was not actually a hotel the whole time. So they'll be like, we're the oldest hotel, but actually just the building was that old.
Yeah. But before the famed hotel was built, it all started with a restaurant. I feel like everything starts with the gathering of food. Parker's restaurant predates Parker House by 22 years. Harvey D. Parker, a 20-year-old farm boy from Maine, arrived in Boston in 1825 with only $1 in his pocket. At that time, $1 was like $500.
No, it wasn't.
But it was definitely not
It was the equivalent to about 3 to 4 days of pay.
Okay. That's still not a lot of money. He found a job taking care of a horse and a cow, as one does back in the day, which paid $8 per month. Then he found work as a coachman. When in Boston, he frequently dined in a cellar cafe owned by John E. Hunt. In 1832, less than a decade since his arrival, Parker purchased the cafe for $432 and renamed it Parker's Restaurant. Wow. So he saved up his little pennies and he...
That tells me that was quite the pay raise from taking care of somebody's horse to being a coachman.
Okay, but still, it was a few years. So... Yeah. And I'm sure he's, you never know what other hustle he did to.
That's true.
But he bought the cafe for $432. He loved it so much. He's like, it's mine now. That's a labor of love. That's actually really sweet. The restaurant quickly became famous for its food and excellent service and gained popularity with businessmen, lawyers, and journalists. And that's because only men were allowed to do anything.
Yep.
I love how it became popular. It was like whores weren't allowed and women didn't go out to eat. So it was just those men anyways. In 1847, he took on a partner, John F. Mills. And in 1854, they bought the Miko Mansion.
Miko Mansion?
is it the micro mansion? And it's really just a house.
Tiniest mansion.
Yeah. And demolishing it to build a first-class hotel and restaurant at the base of Beacon Hill, down the street from the Massachusetts State House. So he was building his way up, got a partner as one does. So it's interesting that a lot of these people throughout what we learn is that people have a dream, they save up, but they always get partners. Like you can't really do it.
Yeah.
And it's not that different
You
now.
simply cannot do it alone.
Anyway. Okay, so they build this hotel. He built a 5-story Italian style stone and brick hotel with a white marble facade and white marble steps leading from the sidewalk to the marble foyer within. He really likes white marble.
He was like, this is going to be fancy.
Yeah, I have something to prove. The hotel was an immediate hit with a journalist from the Boston Transcript turning in a rave review after it opened in October 1855.
I wonder if that was a journalist that liked to eat at the Parker restaurant. I wonder if that was a plant. I wonder if he knew that journalist and was like, hey.
Well, you're right, because what was just mentioned before, who went to the restaurant?
Exactly.
Businessmen and journalists. And how many hotels existed back then? 2.
In like the revolutionary colonial period, they just had inns, which of course only men went to because women didn't really travel. And then like more genteel places started becoming more popular. And so they were called houses, which is why this is Parker House. And they became, because they were so genteel, women actually started staying in these places. And they could accommodate a lady's needs. And then, but in Boston, most of them had like very patriotic names. It was like the American House, the Revere House, things like that.
Oh, okay. So there were a lot of Airbnbs.
But they weren't houses, they were hotels.
Okay. Yeah.
They were called house.
They were called house.
Yeah, to make it obvious that this is not an inn or a tavern. This is a nice place where you will feel comfortable.
So this was still pretty unique because they were making this into a big hotel.
Yeah, this is like
small house hotel.
Yeah, this is like when actual hotels are coming into like what we consider hotels are coming into existence.
Yeah, this is around the time, first of all, Civil War era.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
get to that later on.
Yeah. Yep. But second of all, end of mid 1800s to end. That seems to be the big hotel boom, not just the small little inns and stuff. And we know this, and I'm referring back to Doily.
We're ramping up for the Gilded Age when the big hotel really takes off.
Yeah. Also, another thing is that a lot of the hotels all open in October. Not all, but like
yeah, they do.
A few have opened in October. I guess the timing of like how long it takes to be built and like the season.
Yeah, I think October was a major socialite season, so they wanted to be open and ready for that to be able to host events.
Yeah. And maybe right before the holiday season.
Yeah.
So he gets a rave review from his plant.
We're making that up just so everyone knows.
We make up a lot of things.
True.
We are not historians. Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote a verse about the food, laughter, and famous guests he encountered there. And Charles Dickens wrote about it in a letter to his daughter, describing it as an immense hotel with all manner of white marble, public passages, and public rooms. I live in a corner, high up, and have a hot and cold bath in the bedroom, connecting with the sitting room and comfort not in existence when I was here before. The cost of living is enormous, but happily we can afford it.
The fact that he had both hot and cold water was huge.
That's true. That was rare, actually. The fact that he had a bathtub of his own.
Yeah, that was probably, I think that was probably one of the things that separated houses from inns is things like this level of luxury.
You can just imagine Charles Dickens in this bath while he's writing with his quill and his parchment. And he goes, I live in a corner high up And they have a hot and cold bath in the bedroom, connecting with the sitting room, and comfort not in existence when I was here before. The
You
cost of living is enormous, but
sound
happily,
like an English housekeeper. I don't think that's
I
what
don't know.
Dickens sounded like.
Okay, fuck this. I don't know what Dickens sounds like. What do you think Dickens sounds like?
But I imagine it was more like this.
Oh, so you're making fun of mine. Listen, I just want to say I'm not only poor in this lifetime, I'm poor in the previous lifetimes of the in Britain. I can't even be a rich person in a different lifetime.
You only know accents of poverty.
I know. I might as well just do a Cockney accent or something.
The new hotel also included the Parker House restaurant, which is famous for the invention of multiple iconic foods. The Boston cream pie and Parker rolls were first created in the Parker House restaurant kitchen. I never connected the dots that Parker rolls I never thought about why are these called Parker rolls.
It's all connected.
Yeah. In 1856, Parker hired the gourmet French chef Augustin Onezin, sure, to run Parker's restaurant for an annual salary of $5,000.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Enizin's salary was astonishingly high for the time, considering most cooks in Boston made approximately $416 annually. With Anizin as the head chef, the restaurant quickly became an upscale culinary destination for Boston elites. A typical menu from the chef could include mock turtle soup, boiled turkey and oyster sauce, ham and champagne, mongrel goose. Mongrel goose. What is that?
Don't we have a fancier word for goose?
I don't know.
Isn't it like
You're not asking someone fancy enough to know what the
the reason I'm asking you is because I'm not fancy enough to know either. What the hell is ham and champagne?
At ham and bubbly. This is the origination maybe of the SNL skit. Ham and bubbly.
Oh, that's true. And boiled turkey and oyster sauce. The menus back in the day sounded disgusting.
Yeah, they really did.
Including mock turtle soup. Why do people be eating turtles?
One day we'll do an episode just on all the weird recipes that we have encountered from these old hotels.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We should cook them and do a vlog.
In 1856, Anizin reportedly invented the Boston cream pie, originally called chocolate cream pie or Parker House chocolate cream pie. The original recipe had more distinctly French details, like a rum glaze brushed onto the cake layers and slivered almonds around the sides. Oh, well, that sounds good. Why'd they stop doing that?
At least that one is still as popular. Like,
yeah,
mongrel goose. I don't think.
Yeah, it's around. Like they did fine on their desserts. I guess it's hard to fuck something up with sugar in it, honestly.
I wouldn't put it past them.
In the 1860s, a German baker working at the Parker House restaurant created Parker House rolls, commonly now known as Parker rolls. The legend says an angry baker threw a tray of unfinished rolls in the oven after an argument with a hotel guest. When he took the rolls out, they were puffy on the inside and crispy and buttery on the outside with a distinct folded shape. I really love all of these stories about how things supposedly came to be. They're always ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like
really.
in the Seelbach episode about how their champagne old fashioned or whatever, like how the Seelbach cocktail was invented. Like it's always something like, whoops, I didn't mean to, like some fumbling infomercial like thing.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how to open a bottle. Did that go directly in my mouth? Oops.
Like, why would you be arguing with a hotel guest in the kitchen where you're working on the rolls to enable you to throw the rolls into the oven unfinished? It doesn't make sense.
Well, maybe the chef, they're like, can I speak to the chef? And he comes out. And they're like,
maybe.
Pish posh, this was not good. Yeah. And he's like, go fuck yourself.
And then he goes into the back and throws a fit.
Yeah.
And invents, I guess, the most delicious rolls that have ever existed.
I think what happened was they were like, excuse me, this turkey and oyster sauce is a little bit dry.
They were like, wow, did you boil this turkey? What an amateur.
You don't know fine cuisine.
The popularity of the bread generated many copycat recipes, the oldest of which was printed in an April 1874 edition of the New Hampshire Sentinel. However, the official recipe remained a secret until 1933, when U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt requested they be served at a White House dinner. Jacqueline Offenbach stayed at the hotel during an 1876 tour of the U.S. and, inspired by the rolls, sang a tune to friends as a joke. He would later use it as a theme in his opera, The Tales of Hoffmann. So the rolls even inspired a musical number.
But that's so nice that so many things are inspired by the most random shit in the world.
I know. Humans are great. We'll take inspiration anywhere.
Yeah. The bar was a popular place as well, with early menus listing drinks like the sherry cobbler, that sounds like of the time.
Yeah.
The timber doodle. Oh my God. Okay. The gin sling and Sangari. It's not sangria.
It's like dungarees, but Sangari.
Sangari. Yeah. And the very vague cocktail. What does that mean?
Perhaps the original, where the name came from even, but what was in it? We don't know.
Yeah. Its proximity to Harvard caused humorist Artemis Ward to comment, Harvard University was pleasantly and conveniently situated in the bar room of Parker's in School Street. So the college kids went to go drink.
So it was a frat bar?
It was a frat bar. And they were like, bartender, get me one of those timber doodles. And how is anyone serious when they order these drinks? Sherry cobbler and a gin sling. I'm sure they all taste delicious.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they were absolute.
Yeah, the gin sling.
They were mixologists back then for sure.
The gin sling was basically like, here's a cup of gin, you sling it back real quick and you don't think too hard. The hotel introduced America to what became known as the European plan. Prior to that, American hotels had included meals in the cost of a room. That's so nice. And offered them only at set times. The Parker House charged only for the room, with meals charged separately and offered whenever the guest chose. So they introduced room service.
And also just like dining hours in a hotel, like in a restaurant. Like the restaurant's just always open and you can go eat whenever you want.
That's funny. That was the European plan. I kind of like the other plan. I want, when I go to a hotel, I want to know
you
when
think that, but the set time thing, like, have you ever been at a bed and breakfast where they're like, breakfast is from 6:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. And if you don't come down then, you're out of luck. Like, what?
That's true. Well, that's like that's like free breakfast at hotels.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't do that.
But that, to me, I need that structure. Otherwise, I'll sleep all day. And also, like, nothing wakes me up more than food.
Yeah, but every single meal at a set time, like, you have to eat at 7, you have to eat at noon, you have to eat at 5.
So you know what? You know what is kind of like that? Cruises. I mean, there's food available all the time too, like certain food, not the good food, but there's also like morning, like breakfast time, lunch, and dinner, and I loved it. I liked being taken care of like a baby.
The proximity to the Old Corner Bookstore, a building that housed booksellers and publishers from 1829 to 1903, was a major hub of literary activity and further enhanced the Parker House's appeal to writers. So the hotel became the home to the Saturday Club starting in 1856, which met on the fourth Saturday of every month except during the summer. The Saturday Club had been established in 1855 and was an informal monthly gathering of writers, scientists, philosophers, historians, and other notable thinkers of that time. Among the members were poet, essayist, and preeminent transcendentalist Ralph Waldo Emerson, poet James Russell Lowell, novelist Nathaniel Hawthorne, poets John Greenleaf Whittier and Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, diplomat Charles Francis Adams, historian Francis Parkman, philosopher, educator, and abolitionist Amos Bronson Alcott, who was Louisa May Alcott's father, the writer of Little Women.
No way!
Yeah. And sage about town, Dr. Oliver Wendell Holmes. Many others joined over the years, with membership given by invitation only. Their meetings were filled with poetry readings, discussions on science and philosophy, and book critiques. Longfellow drafted his famous Paul Revere's Ride and read it first during their meetings, and the idea for the Atlantic Monthly was born there, which many of the members contributed essays to, and James Russell Lowell served as the editor for.
Okay, so this is the original
Round Table.
Round Table.
Yeah, this was the 19th century Round Table.
Yeah, well, it sounds fascinating. If only women were allowed to join. I feel like we need that. I still love the idea of having like smart thinker. I don't want to say like philosopher. Like we don't really have philosophers anymore, but like just people who are intellectually curious come around and like have a discussion or talk about things, but not have it. If it didn't feel when you read about it political in the way it would be political today.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be like, let's read poetry. But God, have you ever gone to a poetry slam?
Yes.
You know what it makes you want to do? It makes, you know why it's called the poetry slam?
You want to slam your head into the table.
Yeah. But no one tells you that.
Yeah, so on the one hand, you have to be like, wow, in retrospect, that sounds so fascinating and like intellectual. But on the other hand, was it? Or did they pretend like they were doing all these things, but really it was just a bunch of friends hanging out and quipping at each other?
But I think that's what it was. But it also still became like interesting conversation. That's usually how it is. Like that was the Beat generation too.
Yeah.
It's really just friends hanging out and being like, what are we doing? We're kind of like misfits. We're asking the questions. You know, life is so different then. It feels like a different time. We live in a very free society now, you know, and I don't think it was so free back then. So, or way more judgmental if you had a question about God or religion. And here it's like a safe space that you could do those things and it's your friends and whatever. But I mean, I think it was both. Imagine hanging out with a bunch of people and not having a good time and talking, and it's just only about your poetry. That's what a poetry slam is.
Right.
That's why it's not a poetry slam.
Yeah, true. And I mean, they had a very diverse group of people here in terms of careers. It was not diverse in terms of who was there, but in terms of careers, it was.
Yeah.
It was not just writers; it was scientists and philosophers, and other. You know, so they had a lot of different points of view.
One person who was not a fan of the Parker House was Henry David Thoreau. Although Thoreau was friends with many of the club's members, he preferred the waiting room at the Fitchburg train station to the smoky Parker's House Hotel, according to his journal. As for the Parker House, I went there once when the club was away, but I found it hard to see through the cigar smoke, and men were deposited about in chairs over the marble floor, as thick as legs of bacon in a smokehouse. The only room in Boston I visit with alacrity is the gentleman's room at the Fitchburg Depot, where I wait for the cars, the trains, sometimes for 2 hours in order to get out of town. It is a paradise to the Parker House, for no smoking is allowed. I am pretty sure to find someone there whose face is set the same way as my own.
So he really didn't care for smoky atmospheres.
It sounds like he had like an allergy or maybe like asthma. And he's like, I'm really uncomfortable. There's a bunch of people. The smoke is thick and disgusting.
To be fair, Thoreau was very much a nature guy. Like, it doesn't surprise me he didn't really like being around a lot of people with a lot of smoke, because he wrote books like Life in the Woods.
Yeah.
And didn't he write On Walden Pond? Yeah, so this makes a lot of sense, actually, that he was like, fuck this. This is gross, because he's used to the fresh air out in the woods. In 1860, Parker demolished the Horticultural Hall building next door on the corner of Chapman Place and School Street, which was the site of the former Boston Latin School. In its place, Parker built a 6-story annex for the hotel. In 1863, he acquired the land behind the annex building on Chapman Place and Bosworth Street and built another wing to the Parker House, a 10-story annex. This annex is still in use, making it the oldest part of the hotel still in existence. In 1866, Parker purchased a narrow lot at 66 Tremont Street and built a third wing for the hotel. Damn, he is really into making this. He probably wanted the whole block to be the hotel.
Yeah.
Complete with bay windows and a steep Mansford roof, and also added 2 floors to the main building. So lots of renovation going on there.
Mary Todd Lincoln stayed at the hotel in 1862, though without Abe. What was she doing without him?
I'm sure he had important business.
I thought they were a team. He had lectured at Tremont Temple around the corner previously, but it was before the hotel was built. So he would have stayed there, but
Yes.
Mary Todd was there to visit their son, Robert, who was a student at Harvard. In 1865, city officials built a new city hall on School Street, and the Parker House suddenly became a meeting place for politicians due to its location between the new city hall and the Massachusetts State House on Beacon Hill. Both state and local politicians often met at the hotel to discuss politics over dinner and drinks. This just seems like a natural thing.
Yeah.
A hotel in between two very governmental things.
Yeah, as we saw with the Mayflower, like if you have that location, then you're just going to become de facto where everybody goes. I think I read something that said every single president between Ulysses S. Grant and today has had some reason to be at the Parker House. So as we mentioned before, Charles Dickens had stayed at the Parker House. He stayed there for 5 months, actually, from 1867 to 1868 in his own apartments on the 3rd floor. He first recited and performed a Christmas carol for the Saturday Club at the Parker House and at one of their meetings, and then again for an adoring public at nearby Tremont Temple, with easily 2,000 in attendance and people scalping tickets.
Wow.
Yeah, he was very popular. While staying there, he took long walks every day and dressed in a brightly colored coat, shiny boots, a striped cravat, fine hat, and gloves. He was quite the dandy.
Yeah.
Guards were assigned to stand outside his hotel room door because people tried to spy on him while he was practicing for his public readings. He apparently employed exaggerated gestures and facial expressions to bring his characters to life. The Parker House kept the door to his room and also the mirror that he used for his rehearsals, so they still have those.
Oh, like in the Roosevelt with Marilyn Monroe's.
Yeah.
Picture.
One of the elevators at the hotel will randomly stop at the 3rd floor, no matter where you told it to go, and many think it's Dickens still haunting the Parker House. Although an alternative theory is that it's a Boston actress named Charlotte Cushman who stayed and died in the Dickens suite in 1876.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, so could either one of them trying to get you on the 3rd floor.
Yeah. Also, elevators seem to be real haunted and wonky. I don't know why. It seems weird. But you know what I'm surprised about with Charles Dickens is that I didn't know he ever went to the US. I thought he just stayed on his little British island.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but
and it sounds like he had a good time.
Yeah. I bet he found the boiled turkey an improvement over British cuisine.
As an aside and a nod to our episode on hotel superstitions, the Parker House elevators number the floors 1 to 14, but skip the number 13 as many hotels do. So this was already, it was catching on the superstition about the number 13.
Oh yeah, that superstition's been around forever. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's still so weird to me that we still do it. Do we still do it?
Yeah.
Are people still doing
I think that a lot of places still do it, especially in more superstitious parts of the world. They definitely still do it. But I think even in hotels, it's just kind of a thing that they're like, why take a chance? Yeah. So if you don't know about that superstition, go check out our Hotel Superstitions episode. I think that was season 2.
Yeah. We talk about all the weird superstitions. And there's probably more, but those were the famous ones.
A famous Civil War era actor stayed at the hotel from April 5th to 6th, 1865, apparently there to see his brother, another actor, perform at the Boston Theater. Like his brothers Edwin and Junius, John Wilkes Booth enjoyed a successful stage career in the 1860s.
What?
John was mostly in Southern productions, but acted from time to time in Boston and with his brothers in New York. I think his older brother, was the Northeast guy, and then Junius, the younger brother, was the Midwest, covered the Midwest theaters, and so then John was in the South. They covered the entire country. John tended.
Is that why he had his beliefs?
Probably. John tended towards fluffy action roles and was quite a ladies' man. He was also a Confederate sympathizer and believed Lincoln would be made King of America, something he told his brother Edwin when he learned Edwin had voted for Lincoln in 1863. Booth reportedly had met with either Confederate secret agents or Confederate sympathizers at the Parker House to hatch a plan to kidnap President Lincoln back in July 1864. That plan fell through, obviously. While in Boston this time around, a man named Borland said he saw Booth practicing at a firing range near the Parker House. The Boston Evening Transcript reported Borland saw him practicing his aim by firing in difficult ways, like between his legs, over his shoulder, and under his arms. What did he think he was going to be doing?
I gotta get any angle.
Any angle. 8 days after his Parker House stay, he assassinated the president on April 14th, 1865, at Ford's Theater in D.C.
What? I still don't understand. How did kidnapping turn into killing? Or they were just no, we'll kidnap him and we'll try to make him do things, and he's
I don't know, hold him for ransom of ending the war. So I'm not sure what the plan was there, but can I just point out that this is maybe why we don't listen to actors' opinions on politics.
Oh, that's very interesting. You know, I just think that killing a president is such a drastic move. What do you think that's going to accomplish? Have you planned this out? Have you really thought it through? What do you think's happening? That we don't have someone in place?
Yeah.
We know it's going to happen. There's a guy.
It's a whole system. There's actually a whole thing in the Constitution that says what to do when the president gets killed.
Yeah.
And guess what? The guy who comes in after him is also from his same party with his same beliefs.
And today, usually worse than the actual president. Between 1866 and 1925, the hotel increased in size with new stories and additions, eventually expanding its footprint over 41,400 square feet of land. Whoa. The bulk of the city lot bordered by Tremont School and Bosworth Streets and Chapman Place. So it basically took up a block, no?
Yeah. So I think this is including some of what you mentioned earlier.
And he did it slowly. I mean, that's a long
year
time.
By year, yeah.
Yeah. In March 1877, humorist Mark Twain was staying at the Parker House in a room 168 and observed to a reporter, "You see for yourself that I'm pretty near heaven, not theologically, of course, but by the hotel standard."
So he liked it.
He liked it.
He was like, "This white marble, this is pretty cool."
Yeah. He's like, I'm not getting it to heaven, but this is as close as I'll get. Okay.
On May 31st, 1884, when founder Harvey Parker died at the age of 79, he was buried in Mount Auburn Cemetery, the permanent home, quote unquote, of many of Boston's most prestigious people. The ambitious Maine farm boy who arrived in Boston almost penniless in 1825 died with a net worth of over $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is still the 1880s, so $1 million really meant something. Some believe Parker still haunts the hotel, as a bearded gentleman dressed from the colonial era has been sighted on the 9th and 10th floors, and once at the end of a guest's bed in room 1012. Guests have also recounted witnessing orbs of light hovering down the 10th floor hallways and then mysteriously vanishing. I just want to point out that what do they mean when they say that he's dressed from the colonial era? Because 1884, guys, was not the colonial era. That was 100 years previous. So do you just mean he was wearing old fashioned clothes? Or do you mean colonial era? Because if so, that's not Harvey Parker.
Well, this might be poking a hole in the whole haunted theory that someone either one was like, what would this guy wear if I wanted to play a prank on someone? Oh yeah, colonial era. Or someone it's a figment of your imagination and you don't know these things and you're just like, yeah, I think I saw someone wearing this. Yeah, that doesn't track. You're right.
Yeah. Or people just are assigning old fashioned clothes the wrong era without really knowing the difference. I guess not everyone can see the differences between what George Washington wore and what Abraham Lincoln wore.
Yeah. Well, no, you know what's great? Like it bothers me a lot the because I went to school for fashion and I also we had to take a class called the history of costume, which is not really costumes, but like
Yeah.
basically the history of fashion.
Yeah.
And you learn about it. And there is this but it was way before. It's like between 1200 and like 1500 or 1400 where basically fashion didn't change that much and only the super rich were like changing some things so you could kind of make that mistake of like I don't know if it's 1200, I don't know if it's 1300, I don't know if it's 1400, but then definitely by the time America was around that no longer was the case, so people really don't know.
Yeah.
They really don't know, and it's like sometimes you need a side by side.
The hotel passed to Parker's partners, Edward O. Punchard and Joseph H. Beckman, because his sons preceded him in death. So it passed to his partners until 1891, when Joseph Reed Whipple assumed control. These people have great last names.
Yeah.
Is that a thing in Boston that everyone has a really cool last name?
Should we change our names?
To Punchard and Whipple?
Yeah.
To provide his Boston diners with the freshest and finest food products available, Whipple established his own 2,500-acre dairy farm in New Boston, New Hampshire. That is a very confusing name for a town. New Boston, located in New Hampshire. Guys, let's have new names. Let's think of new names. How about that? Valley View Farm was divided into dairy, piggery, and hennery departments.
So it was a farm.
Yeah. Yeah. In other words, it employed about 90 people. In order to make daily deliveries to Boston, Whipple helped build a railroad depot in New Boston, connecting it to existing main lines with a spur track later leased to the Boston and Maine Railroad. Wow, he really wanted that farm to table situation.
Oh, it probably was good then.
I bet it was.
Yeah. Vietnamese leader and communist revolutionary Ho Chi Minh served as a baker in the bake shop from 1911 to 1913. He claimed to work there in a 1912 postcard, but this has not been corroborated by hotel records. Minh was president of North Vietnam from 1945 to 1969. He was a key figure in Vietnam's struggle against Japanese occupation during World War II, French colonial rule, and then later against the United States during the Vietnam War. Before becoming president of North Vietnam, he lived in the US and Europe. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Minh had left French Indochina in 1911 to travel and find employment. He worked as a kitchen helper on a French steamship that made several stops on the east coast of the United States, including New York City and Boston, where he decided to leave the ship and seek employment. The marble table that Minh worked on is still located in the pastry kitchen today and has become something of a pilgrimage site for many Vietnamese people. In 2005, a Vietnamese delegation that included Prime Minister Phan Van Khai and Trung Quan Doc, those are hard ones, Vice President of the National Assembly, also visited the Omni Parker House to view the hotel and the Ho Chi Minh table in the pastry kitchen. So I have a question. If it wasn't corroborated by the hotel, why are they saying this is his table?
Well, I guess the marble table has been there since the time he was supposed to have worked there. So they're like, we can't say for sure he worked here, but he says he did. And if he did, he worked here at this station.
Okay, so they just want to milk it. But why would he say he worked there if he didn't?
I don't know. Like, I can't see what an ulterior motive would be for claiming to work there. So, I mean, honestly, how good do you think the record keeping for employment was back then?
But that's a crazy story. I had no idea that man worked or came to the U.S. at all.
Yeah. I guess our capitalism didn't secure him of his communist leanings.
Yeah, like what was it? Why didn't he stay in Vietnam?
Probably wanted to find work, is what it sounds like.
But he didn't like work for money.
I don't know. I don't know enough about him to.
I know. Now I want to read about this.
Yeah, now I'm like, oh God, just this podcast just adds and adds to my list of things to learn more about.
But you know what's weird? He was the president of Northern Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh City is in South Vietnam, and it's called Saigon. Really,
it used to be called Saigon, but it's all Vietnam now because North Vietnam took back over South Vietnam.
So I believe when I went to visit, and I was doing my research, yes, they changed the name to Ho Chi Minh City, but the natives and everyone still calls it
I'm
Saigon.
sure they still call it Saigon.
Yeah.
It was changed against their will.
Exactly. So everyone refers it. But what is weird is that they named the southern city rather than like Hanoi.
Oh, I think it makes a lot of sense because they almost lost South Vietnam. And so they were like, oh, we're not only taking you back, but we're going to rub it in your face. And now your city is named after who leads you now.
Okay, well, they should really just change it back.
Yeah, it's just, like that sounds like a very conqueror thing to do.
Yeah.
In 1925, the Whipple Corporation bought the Parker House from the trustees of the Parker Estate, and on November 23rd, they closed the Parker House down in preparation for demolition in December, although the 80-room, 10-story annex on the corner of Chapman and Bosworth remained open to guests. And this is how they are able to claim that they are the longest continuously operating hotel, because even when they closed down for renovations, they kept this old part of the hotel open. So they're on a technicality, they've got it. Although I do think it's still a little bit ambiguous, like because the annex was not part of the original hotel. It was added. It was one of the parts that was purchased and added to the original hotel. But it was operating along with that, so it's like a string of continuous.
Yeah, but we already know there was another place that like had a brick.
Yeah,
they had one brick from their old existence, and they're like, actually, we've been around since the 1700s, and it's like, no, that brick was around.
Yeah, or like the places in London with the pubs that they're like, this is from 982, and it's just a rock.
Yeah. Like, you are not the oldest pub, but...
Yeah. The old Parker House was demolished and replaced with a new 14-story building made from polished black quincy granite on the lower exterior facades and limestone and buff-colored brick above.
Wait, so they got rid of the marble?
Yes, they got rid of the white marble that everybody loved so much. The new building, designed by architect G. Henri Desmond of Desmond and Lord Architects, was fireproof, a major feature back then, and featured oak paneling, plastered ceilings, crystal chandeliers, bronze detailed doors, and 800 guest rooms.
Wow.
That's a lot. The Parker House reopened on May 12, 1927. To celebrate the hotel's rebirth, the general manager, Claude M. Hart, and his secretary, Alice Mulligan, flew over Boston Harbor in a private plane, where Mulligan ceremoniously threw the keys to the old Parker House building into the water below. You idiot! That could have been part of the historic offerings.
Oh my God, I'm dying. Why would you do that? This antique, forget about it. Throw it in the water. Like, what? Why would you do that? You can put that as a monument, a little thing.
Like, take a different key, take a fake key if you want to
Make a copy.
ceremoniously throw something into
Yeah.
the water. By the way, litter bug.
That's not what they're like, this key is going where the tea went.
Happy times soon ended, however, with the Wall Street crash of 1929.
Oh God.
Always. The hotel fell on hard times, along with every other hotel in the country and the world. And in 1933, the Atlantic National Bank foreclosed on the Parker House's hotel mortgage. Then the First National Bank acquired the Atlantic National Bank, along with its mortgage of the Parker House.
Okay.
In February of 33, Glenwood Sherrard purchased the Parker House and the old 10-story annex behind it for $3,300,000.
Wow.
Which is, I feel like,
That's a lot.
for the Depression era, like, right? That's still.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's
Yeah. Sherrard, right? Sherrard took over management of the hotel and revived the struggling business. He continued to run the Parker House until his death in 1958. And during the 10 years that followed, the Parker House still had hard times. Sherrard's son, Andrew, managed the hotel, but was known to make bad business decisions.
just because you have a kid doesn't mean they should be getting your business.
Yeah.
Malcolm Little, remembered as Black activist Malcolm X, was a busboy in the early 1940s during the period of the Pearl Harbor invasion. I'm assuming at the Parker House.
Yeah.
Okay. See, everyone's touched this hotel. Wow, that's real. Everyone. Lots of leaders here.
And actually, I couldn't find any other information about the hotel during World War II, which really surprised me with them being in Boston, like Boston,
Yeah.
Boston's a port city, like it's a major part of the country. It kind of surprised me that there weren't any stories about how they prepared for potential bombings and things like that, like every other hotel.
Yeah. Did they give out tin hats? Like what?
I don't know. I couldn't find anything.
Yeah. Did they have a bunker? Did they have
Yeah, did they black out the windows but keep the party going inside? Come on, guys, give us the
That's
deets.
kind of weird because everybody has a World War II story.
Every hotel so far has had a World War II story. So, yeah, I'm still looking for it.
James Michael Curley, the charismatic Irish American mayor of the poor, who dominated Boston politics for the first half of the 20th century, was a constant presence at the Parker House, in part because Old City Hall stood directly across from the hotel on School Street. It makes sense. Every politician was probably a part of the Parker House. Curley served as common councilor, alderman, state representative, congressman, Massachusetts governor, four-time Boston mayor, and also served 2 sentences in federal prison. Well, you just got to add that in there. You're going to do politics that hard. You have reached peak politician life when you end up in federal prison. He was an inside dealer who almost bankrupted the city of Boston with welfare and city improvement programs. Okay. But you know what? People kept voting him in. He was doing something right, I guess. Curley ate in the Parker's main dining room daily for lunch, tipping the waitstaff with silver dollars that he stole from the welfare programs.
Yeah.
The Omni Parker House Bar, The Last Hurrah, was named for Edwin O'Connor's 1956 novel of the same name, a thinly disguised chronicling of Mayor Curley's life, which was adapted into a movie starring Spencer Tracy. First, it was rumored that Curley might sue the author for libel, but when it enhanced his popularity, Curley praised the book and endorsed it as his own story. This guy's an opportunist.
I see why he was a bit of a folk hero.
Yeah. In a chance meeting with the author outside the Parker House in 1956, Curley thanked him for the novel, adding that he particularly liked the part where I die. Wow, this guy.
Yeah.
I got to read more about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ho Chi Minh and James Michael Curley are fascinating characters.
John F. Kennedy announced his candidacy for Congress at the Parker House in 1946, proposed to Jackie at table number 40 in Parker's restaurant on June 24th, 1953, and also held his bachelor party in the hotel's press room there later that same year. But he had been coming to the Parker House since he was a kid. Politician Clement Norton used to tell a story about 6-year-old JFK. In 1923, when former Boston Mayor John Fitzgerald was being celebrated with a Parker House party, the little boy was sitting outside in the hall, and Norton said to him, "Who you waiting for, kid?" He responded, "Grandpa." Norton coached JFK to instead point to the former mayor and say, "This is the best grandfather a child ever had." Another version of the story has James Michael Curley putting JFK on a table and urging him to speak to the delight of the crowd. And it was known as Jack Kennedy's first public speech.
Whoa.
So he was taught how to politic from the time he was knee-high.
I mean, the fact that he's hanging around Parker House with a bunch of politicians.
Yeah.
This makes
so much sense.
Yeah. Also, I feel like his accent, he had a very thick Boston accent, right?
It was a Cape Cod accent. It was like that weird thing here.
Oh yeah. Like the Grey Gardens cousin.
Yeah, yeah.
Grandpa. I don't know how to do it.
Grandpa. I don't know. I can't do it. It's the weirdest accent.
As the American people. Oh, we need to get a little clip of him talking.
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
The President's remarks on the 4 freedoms from the President's office in the White House, February 6, 1962.
Nearly a generation ago, Franklin Roosevelt summed up the aspirations of the 20th century: freedom of speech and expression, freedom of worship, freedom from want, freedom from fear, all to be enjoyed, he said, everywhere in the world. Today, 20 years later, the world is more dedicated than ever to these goals, and has in the United Nations and in the individual efforts of countries such as ourselves the means of working in concert to secure the 4 freedoms for all people everywhere.
The hotel was bought by Dunphy Hotels in 1968. Fun name. Inspired by the 19th century Saturday Club. Oh, the Dunphys in 1974 founded the New England Circle, purposeful gatherings of activists from a variety of backgrounds and experiences designed to advance civil and civic dialogue and inspire constructive community change. That is really cute. Yeah. What happened?
It was the 70s, and I don't think civil and civic dialogue and constructive change were really what the 70s were about. So
I feel like that was not the time. Everyone's like, you know what, dude? I'm going to go groove in the disco.
You know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to become a serial killer.
Yeah, that too. You got 2 options. You're either dancing in the disco, you're killing people.
So they were ahead of their time, unfortunately.
Yeah. Famous chef Emeril Lagasse served as sous chef in the Parker kitchens from 1979 to 1981. Who knew?
Who knew? Man, the Parker House restaurant really is up there in culinary history.
In 1983, Dunphy Hotels bought Omni Hotels and reorganized itself with the Dunphy name phased out. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Parker House placed in the Omni division. So Dunphy used to be, Omni used to be Dunphy, and now it's just Omni.
Yeah.
In 1996, the Omni Hotels chain and its properties, including the Parker House, were sold to TRT Holdings, owned by Texas billionaire Robert Rowling. Oh, but he owns the Omni Hotels.
Yeah.
He bought Omni didn't sell it off to his.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So he bought it. Oh my God, a part of your people.
Texas billionaires aren't really my people.
Where is he from? I feel like this guy probably is an interesting. Robert Rowling. Have you heard of him? I've never heard of him.
No, but it's probably oil money.
Probably. Yeah.
A native of Corpus Christi. Okay. In 1972, Rowling began working for Tana Oil and Gas. Yep, oil billionaire.
Ding, ding, ding.
So many haunting books and ghost tours claim that Stephen King's short story, 1408, was about a room in the Parker House, room 303. In the book, it takes place at a New York hotel called the Dolphin. So supposedly some supernatural events that have happened around this Parker House hotel room have inspired this book, but King's personal assistant says that this is not true. So you read the book and decide. But room 303 guests have reported strange shadows throughout the room, and the bathtub water would just turn on randomly by itself. That's creepy. Management eventually turned this room into a storage closet for unspecified reasons.
Oh, come on.
Some speculate that it was because a guest committed suicide in this room, but no one knows for sure. Throughout the third floor and the entire hotel, guests have also described the sound of rocking chairs creaking late at night, even though there are none. That's a very specific sound.
Oh, they definitely did this on purpose.
I think that's just people having sex in hotel beds.
No. I think you are not doing hotels right if you can hear a creaking of the bed.
Yeah.
And someone having sex on the bed. Like, unless they're really, really loud and you share a wall, but it should be pretty quiet in there.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. Like you don't want to have to stay in a hotel where the walls are that thin.
Or we have a horny granny ghost going around the third floor.
Who knows?
But it sounds like something's happening on that floor. And so they were just like, we're going to solve this problem by making it not for guests. But I mean, if there was a suicide, it's haunted. Yeah.
And
sure.
that's the same floor that Dickens stayed on and that actress died.
So that floor has been probably haunted for a while.
Yeah. So it sounds like that floor is just
something's going on. Or they need to check the plumbing. I don't know.
Yeah.
In 2008, the hotel underwent a $30 million renovation, and the rooms were restructured into 530 guest rooms and 21 deluxe suites. So, wow.
Yeah, because it had 800 rooms before, so they must have made some pretty nice suites.
Yeah. Also, what was their last renovation before that? This must have been like the big one.
Oh, I bet this was the big one. Yeah, because I didn't read about any other renovations since like the 20s.
Yeah. Wow. It probably needed it. And the 70s were rough.
Yeah.
In 2009, AAA named the hotel one of the top 10 historic U.S. hotels. The Omni Parker House is a member of the Historic Hotels of America. Of course it is.
Of course.
So freaking old. On October 14th, 2024, unionized workers at Omni Parker House went on strike as part of a citywide effort to secure a new collective bargaining agreement with all union hotels in Boston. On October 20th, the workers at Omni Parker House unanimously voted to approve a new contract and return to work on October 21st, thus making Omni the first hotel brand in the city to agree to terms with the union. There's always a union story with hotels.
Every year, it feels like a different city in the country is dealing with the new union contract.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they always make the workers have to go on strike. Like, that's not going to be good for business when the workers go on strike.
It's just the name of the game with employers, because even if they're going to lose out on money, I don't know if they want to show face. I don't know. I was just having this conversation with my mom, but they want to see that you're not full of shit so that you have to actually walk the walk. You can't just, because they'll be like, sure, whatever. I don't know why. Even though it costs them money.
Yeah. And
even if they lose out millions of dollars.
I'm sure the guests during that week had a less than stellar experience.
Yeah, unless they got scabbers.
Yeah.
But those never last. And you want the people that know the hotel and have then worked there for a long
Exactly.
time. It's never the same,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
the service. Yeah, Scabbers guys do not provide the same level of service that
Yeah.
your union workers
Yeah.
do. They
Yeah.
just don't. Yeah, they can't. They don't know the hotel. They don't know
Yeah. And
what's
then if they
going on.
stay long enough, they're going to be like,
They're
hey,
going to become a
let's
union employee.
unionize.
According to Omni Hotels, the hotel is actually currently undergoing some renovations. Omni Hotels is calling it a complete rebirth that seamlessly blends its heritage with refined, timeless elegance. So it's supposed to be finished this summer. So it may already be finished. But it's supposed to enhance every aspect of the guest experience with updates spanning all 551 guest rooms, including 57 suites, 23,000 square feet of meeting and function space, including the renowned rooftop ballroom and the hotel's vibrant lobby.
It sounds like it's going through a lot.
Yeah, I really want to see this rooftop ballroom. That sounds cool.
We need to go to Boston.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
We need to plan a
love
trip.
Boston. I love Boston with my whole heart, and I will happily come stay at any hotel that wants to host us.
Okay. I think the last time I was in Boston, I was 22 or 23. So over 10 years
Yeah,
ago.
for me too. I was like 25, I think, when I was in Boston. So I'm dying to go back. Oh, I want to mention a few episodes ago, we had a 2-episode series on hotels in Cannes, and we interviewed JQ Louise, who is based in Boston. So if you live there or are planning on traveling to Boston, check out her website, jqlouise.com, and she has a ton of information about traveling to Boston. Thanks for listening to Hotel History. You can follow us on most social media platforms, Patreon, and Substack by searching for Hotel History or Hotel History Podcast. To connect or collaborate with us, check out our website at hotelhistorypodcast.com. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so we can reach more listeners.